Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So House Bill 1269 allows a teacher to refer to a student by pronouns based on the student's birth sex without fear of adverse disciplinary or legal action. And, just to read a couple findings at the beginning of the bill and just stating why this is important. Teachers and employees of public schools and LEAs do not shed their constitutional rights to freedom of speech or expression while at work. And then a teacher or employee of a public school or LEA should never be compelled to affirm a belief with which the teacher or employee disagrees. With that, I will yield to any questions.
Okay, we have had requests by a couple of people to speak, 3. You're recognized.
I have a PhD from Vandy, and I'm a mom of 3. This bill is ridiculous. This bill emboldens teachers, the ones we entrust to guide our children, to air their biases openly, to deny our children their true selves, to publicly misgender them. It puts a target on their backs. They will be bullied, taunted, and shamed. And instead of an education, these children will be gifted anxiety, depression, and adjustment disorders. And this is what you want for children. Tell me one positive thing that this bill, that any of these bills is accomplishing. We are not stupid. None of us believe this is about protecting children. You have over 20 bills on the docket right now targeting this community. You want us to get our kids to adulthood, and then you're just going to take away their rights then too. Stop lying. This is about intolerance for an entire group of humans. And I want to let you know today that discriminating, oppressing, persecuting a group of people is going to land you on the wrong side of history. You want to believe you have the power to oppress people, but you are wrong. There are over 1.5 million transgender Americans, and that number is rising. Gen Z and younger, my kids' generation, will double, triple that figure, and they will be embarrassed by you. Your legacy will be one of embarrassment. Last week, my own representative, Representative Balso, attempted to shame me and my family because of my values. Yet he claimed here in this House that, quote, I know Christ and I will bring those values to whatever legislature we pass, unquote. Where are the checks and balances? Our First Amendment prohibits the government from making any law respecting an establishment of religion. And I'm not beholden to your values. Tennessee is not beholden to your values, says the law. My number one value is that every human being belongs. You want this community to fade into darkness, but you aren't going to stop hearing from me, from my friends, until this stops.
Thank you. Gender dysphoria is a serious experience. Bills like this show that this legislature does not take the transgender community seriously, that you lack empathy and understanding, and some of you yourselves have shown that you refuse to learn about your own citizens. School is supposed to be somewhere safe. A teacher should be someone you can trust to be there for you, to help you. This will surely have a negative impact, not just on those students, but also the ones who witness it, who will also fear their teachers and be taught how to hate in the classroom. This legislature is showing how little they care about children and the future of Tennessee, and it is despicable. I am not very religious, but since I have begun coming to your hearings, I have started to pray for all of you. I don't know what could incentivize lawmakers to harm children, but those supporting the many bills passing your desks, I hope you gain empathy and a willingness to learn about your constituents. And those who are fighting against your prejudiced colleagues, I pray for your continued strength. I grew up hoping someone would stop my bullies from hurting me, so I'm hoping to stop the bullies I see from hurting my friends. They do not deserve this, none of us do, and especially not children. Please vote no and put children's sanity before prejudice. Thank you.
No one can learn in a school from someone they feel disrespected by or feel fearful of, which is the type of dynamic created when teachers use pronouns that don't align with the student's identity. Learning happens in environments where students feel safe. The vast majority of LGBT students in Tennessee regularly hear homophobic and transphobic remarks not only from their students, but from their teachers. This bill legally protects this kind of discrimination. I want to share testimony of an educator who is afraid to come and testify because this is the kind of civic engagement climate that the Tennessee legislature is creating. From a local librarian. I'm a librarian who engages with teens from local schools every day. Students have a hard time getting teachers to respect them and their pronouns as it is. The last thing we need is the government mandating disrespect. So many trans folks, me being one of them, put off college because they're dissuaded from educational environments that are hostile to them and do not see them. the state of Tennessee will be actively disengaging students and pushing them away from academics because they will associate academics with a lack of safety. It takes courage to write an email to a teacher, request them to use correct pronouns, and it's absolutely earth-shattering when the plea is ignored. It will teach students that their well-being and safety is not a priority in school, and doubly troubling for our most at-risk students who will feel even more cautious to reach out to help anyone from school environments. Research shows that LGBTQI students that go to schools that have supportive and inclusive policies, supportive teachers, and inclusive curricular material have higher educational aspirations, experience higher rates of school belonging, higher academic achievement, and lower absenteeism when compared to those without such supports.
Thank you. We hit the two-minute mark.
I appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Okay, members, before we go back in session, do I have any questions from the committee? Representative Bosso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Bowden, it's good to see you again. Welcome. Let me start by asking
Representative Bosso, before you begin, and from both our guest and committee, this is a subject that is controversial, so I want us all to keep our comments respectful to each other. Thank you. Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and that actually was my first question.
Right.
Have you found it to be the case in your experience, Dr. Bowden, that the best way to persuade others is to insult them by telling them that their work is ridiculous, that they're liars, and that they're intolerant?
You'll recognize Ms. Bowden.
Is this on?
It is.
I would ask the same question of you, Representative Bolso. Since last time I was here, you shamed me. And we are sitting here today because you are up here making laws that take away my rights and my kids' rights. So I'd like to let you know the difference between your values and my values, because your values are different than mine. And I'm not up here telling you what health care you can and cannot access. I'm not telling you what people can and can't call you or who you are. I'm not trying to tell you what you can wear on the weekends and what you can't wear on the weekends because I think that it looks obscene. You're telling me that, and you're telling us that, and you're making laws around that. So I have a right to come up here and tell you what I think about that, and that I think this bill is going to embolden teachers to bully children. One teacher does it, another teacher does it, all the children do it. We know this cascade is going to happen, and it's discrimination. It's not freedom of speech, it's discrimination. Are teachers going to be misgendering all students or just the transgender ones?
Representative Bosso, you recognize?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You're aware, Dr. Bowden, of what an ad hominem argument is, correct?
Sir, I'm not here to be intimidated by you today. I'm not intimidated by you.
You recognize Representative Bosso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, Dr. Bowden, I can answer the question. An ad hominem argument is one that attacks the...
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. This is not on the bill. This is irrelevant.
Representative Jones, the chairman is in control. I'm recognizing Representative Bosso. We will continue, and I will stop it if I feel like it's out of line. Representative Bosso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. An ad hominem argument is simply one that attacks the person. It's Latin for to the man, as opposed to the merits of an argument. And I would simply encourage you that we find it more helpful as members of this body to debate on matters of substance, not by way of insult. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on. Anyone
Excuse
else?
me, I would like to respond to that comment because you're dismissing that this is of substance to me and my family.
Ms. Bolton, I will recognize you. We won't have a running debate.
Okay.
You are now recognized appropriately. Go ahead. Recognize.
This has direct implication for my family. This is not about you. I'm not attacking you. I'm attacking this bill because it takes away my child's rights. Last week, you guys took away my right to decide my child's health care, and I have every right to be here as a Tennessee resident. As your constituent, you came to my door and told me that your platform was limited government and that you were going to put more money into the schools, and you lied. That is not this. This is a direct attack on my kids, on our kids. So I have a right to be here and tell you that you're wrong.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, questions from the committee before we go back in session? Seeing none, okay, we're back in session. Thank you to our guests for being here today and expressing your beliefs. We're now back on 1269. Leader Cochran, 1 second.
I renew my motion, Mr. Chairman.
1 second, we have one committee member that did want to speak. Representative McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To the sponsor, are you aware that this bill, if passed, could get us eerily close, if not over the line as far as Title IX, and we could potentially lose $1.3 billion in federal funding?
Representative Cochran.
Thank you, Chairman. Representative, in 50 years of Title IX, no school system, no LEA has ever lost federal funding due to a Title IX violation. And I would argue to the exact opposite, that there is far more court precedent in favor of protecting a teacher's First Amendment rights than in favor of the current administration's opinion of Title IX. So I would certainly take my chance in the courts on that one.
Follow up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And that Title IX, it transcends present administration, conservative, liberal, anything. Title IX has been the law. And I'd argue with you that the reason that when Title IX, if you look at the United States when Title IX was enacted and the United States today, it's because of Title IX and compliance with Title IX, strict compliance with Title IX, that we have women's athletics the way it looks like, and just general equality. So again, I will ask, because when the government passed a law, it's our job to enforce them. So I'll ask this a different way. Do you feel that it's good governance to impose a law that is extremely risky to every life, every Tennessean, every taxpayer in Tennessee's financial position?
Leader Cochran.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, Representative, if you want to talk about the law and you want to talk about the courts, let's talk about that precedent just a little bit. And specifically the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, which governs, the state of Tennessee is within that jurisdiction. The Sixth Circuit observes that if schools can require a teacher to speak, if a school can require a teacher to use, can require a teacher to call a male student a female, which would be against their core beliefs. If they can do that, this is a direct quote from the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeal. They can also require a pacifist to declare that war is just, a civil rights icon to condemn the Freedom Riders, and a believer to deny the existence of God, or a Soviet to address his students, a Soviet escapee to address his students as comrades. That is a direct quote from the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals. Essentially what they are saying is you cannot force someone to speak. That not only does the First Amendment protect your right to speak, it protects your right not to speak. You cannot be coerced to agree with something that is against your core values. That has been upheld in court multiple times in the Sixth Circuit and in other places in this country. So if we want to talk about court precedent, the precedent is certainly on the side of this bill.
Let's now go to Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the sponsor, I appreciate you bringing this bill. Just a quick question for you. I'm assuming you believe in absolutes, absolute rights, absolute wrongs, and I'll follow that with a question before you respond, please. Would it be the right thing for us to do to grade a math paper, and when the test was, when the problem was 2 + 2 = 4, would it be okay to suggest that it's 5 just to placate someone's sensitivities to that?
Leader Cochran.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative, I believe that would be a very dangerous precedent and not the correct action to take.
Thank you. And members, also, when we're discussing bills like this, I hope everyone's read. It's only a page and a half. hope you book, chapter, and verse each one. I'm reading through this, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Leader Cochran. It just talks about the rights of the teacher, protection of the teacher. It doesn't say anything about discrimination against a student. Am I wrong in this?
That is accurate, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Representative Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry to you all for how my colleagues are acting toward you. I'm sorry about how the men behind me are acting, because what we're seeing is bullying from those elected to serve these people in the audience. What we're seeing is people using their power to hurt the most vulnerable students in our community. And so,
Representative Jones, we have a point of order. Chairman Reagan, you recognize.
every time I talk, we call point of order. We turn off the microphone, but I'm going to have questions to ask. You do not point of order anybody else, so let me ask my question.
Sir, let me recognize Reagan. I will come back to you. Chairman Reagan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The point of order is this is not on the bill that's before us. Speaking to the audience is not on the bill. If he wishes to direct comments or questions to the sponsor, we are in order. Otherwise, we're not. I submit to the chair's ruling.
Thank you very much. Representative Jones, do you understand the point of order was made? We stay on the bill. I know we all have a worldview and a 360-degree view of things, but we can't go around the world whenever we're trying to express. Stay on the bill, please.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Smalch, I have a question because I feel like you've misled this committee. You stated that the Sixth Circuit case, Meriwether v. Harthrop, gave K-12 teachers the right to misgender students. When that case explicitly states from the court, if you read it in full, let me finish my question if you don't mind, that it shall not be applied to K-12 teachers. Secondly, if you read Meriwether in full, you'd know that it explicitly states that if it only applies to university professors, and that even when professors have the First Amendment rights, it's still analyzed on a case-by-case basis dependent on how efficiently the school is providing its services. That is the case you cited, but you misled this committee and gave us a wrong context and definition. Is that correct?
Chairman Cochran, you recognize, sir.
That is incorrect. Meriwether does apply to a public school. It refers to a public university, an employee at that public university expressing or not being forced to speak on something. And again, we can talk about Pamela Rickard versus Geary County School Board. We can talk about Cross versus Loudoun County School Board. We've got multiple cases that back up this bill. So I mean, if we want to get into a legal debate, we can talk about legal precedent. But Meriwether is certainly about a public school. It is a institute. It is a university. With that being said, it is about an employee at a public institution not being forced to speak. And it is clear on that you cannot force a public school teacher to say something that is against their core values. And I believe the court is very explicit on that, and I believe it would apply to this. Regardless if it does or not, however.
I was recognized, correct?
Let him finish his statement, then I'll come back to you and recognize you. Leader Cochran.
The members of this body also certainly stand for the First Amendment and the protections of the First Amendment, and it is our priority to do that. But I do believe that this court case backs that up, and that we as individual representatives also fight for the First Amendment, and that is within our right to vote to reaffirm that in our code.
Representative Jones, follow up.
Thank you. I'm going to stay on the bill and not talk about how this body's banning books. If we want to talk about the First Amendment, I won't get into that. But what I will get into is some questions about free speech. You state that this bill is about free speech, but does it protect teachers who want to properly gender students as well? Because all I see is about misgendering students. Does it protect teachers who want to properly gender their students as well, if it's about the First Amendment, quote unquote?
Leader Cochran.
I would recommend you read the bill again, because it does not require a teacher to refer to a student based on their pronouns that are on their permanent records. It allows them to. So that the teacher can do that, or they can choose not to. So no, it doesn't require them to.
Thank you. Where is this a problem? Where have teachers been fired in your school district for using the incorrect pronoun? Where has this been an issue in your district?
Leader Cochran.
So again, there have been issues throughout the country, Meriwether being one of those cases. And again, there's cases in Virginia, Kansas. There is confusion in Tennessee. I've spoken to teachers in my district who have had that question, and districts are not sure, that they are unclear. They feel like they do not have that protection currently under the law. And so yes, I think it's very critical that we provide that clarity in the code. Absolutely, there's confusion in Tennessee.
You may have one more follow-up.
Thank you. If a teacher, say, wanted to refer to me by the N-word, would that be okay under your free speech definition? Would you be okay with that?
On the bill, on the bill, on the bill.
This is about the bill, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Chair.
No, it is not. Chairman, Leader Cochran, you can address that, then we're moving on.
Of course not. That's ridiculous.
Just like the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. The question has been called on the bill. Any objection to the question? We have objection on the board by 3 hands. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll? All those in favor of the question being called, which means cuts off debate, answer yes. If you don't believe that, then answer no. Madam Clerk. This is a roll call vote.
Representative Baum? Yes. Representative Bulso? Yes. Representative Butler? Yes. Representative